They say perfection comes with a price. But what if that price is a life you can never truly live? In Monaco, where diamonds reflect the sunrise and every whisper echoes through marble walls, one man has mastered the art of flawless living: Zeus. His world is polished to perfection: golden yachts, silent chauffeurs, and a life so immaculate that even his shadows seem designed. But behind those immaculate walls lies something deeper, something he never wanted the world to see. Because perfection isn't built overnight, it's constructed from obsession, control, and silence. Every smile, every move, every headline, carefully choreographed to maintain an illusion worth billions. Yet even in paradise, perfection cracks. And when it does, the truth spills out like spilled champagne over gold. Tonight, we go beyond the glitter, beyond the staged perfection, into the private life Zeus hides from the world. Before we begin, make sure to like this video, subscribe, and join us inside the Billionaire Circle, where every story hides a truth money can't buy. What if the real secret of Zeus's empire isn't how he built perfection, but what it cost him to keep it? In Zeus's world, nothing happens by chance, not even the way the sunlight hits his car. Every detail of Zeus's life is engineered like a luxury watch, precise, silent, and impossibly flawless. From the moment he steps out of his Rolls-Royce onto the marble steps of his Monaco mansion, the image is seamless, the tailored suit perfectly aligned, the watch face reflecting just enough light to suggest power without arrogance. Even the air seems to obey his rhythm. Behind that perfection stands an army of designers, image consultants, and stylists whose jobs are to ensure not a single thread or camera angle betrays the illusion. His chef measures ingredients by the milligram. His gardener trims the roses to identical lengths. His photographers are instructed to capture eternal light, never fatigue, never imperfection. Every appearance, every frame, an unbroken performance of control. It's not vanity, it's survival. In a world where perception is power, Zeus learned that one imperfect image can collapse a dynasty built on admiration. So he built walls, not of stone, but of standards. He doesn't attend parties, he curates them. He doesn't meet people, he selects characters for the movie that is his life. To outsiders, it's mesmerizing. To insiders, it's exhausting. The people closest to him speak of silence, precision, and invisible pressure, as if living inside a museum where touching anything could shatter the glass. But Zeus doesn't see it as a prison. To him, it's the only way to protect the empire he's built. A fortress of beauty, discipline, and control. And yet, behind the gleam of every polished surface, the cracks begin to whisper. The smile becomes harder to hold. The eyes start searching for something real, something money can't choreograph. Because the higher the perfection climbs, the thinner the air becomes. And soon, even Zeus will struggle to breathe in the world he's built. In Zeus's empire, silence isn't absence, it's architecture. No one truly knows what happens beyond the mirrored gates of Zeus's mansion. Not his neighbors, not the photographers camped across the harbor, not even the billionaires who call him a friend. The closer people get to him, the quieter everything becomes, as if sound itself signs a contract of secrecy. Every visitor, employee, and guest is bound by ironclad confidentiality agreements that cost more than most people's homes. Phones are left at the entrance, cameras are covered, conversations are never repeated. Inside, the silence is absolute. It's not loneliness, it's control. The absence of noise, of chaos, of gossip, is how Zeus maintains order. His world runs on precision, not emotion. Even dinner parties feel like cinematic scenes, the music measured, the lighting rehearsed, every toast perfectly timed. Those who work for him say the house feels alive, constantly watching, recording, protecting its master's image from the chaos outside. But that silence has another purpose. It isolates him. When everything you say can be used against your perfection, you stop saying anything at all. Friends fade into colleagues, colleagues fade into employees, and before long, even laughter sounds staged. To the public, Zeus appears untouchable, a man immune to scandal, untouched by human flaws. But inside his quiet kingdom, the perfection begins to echo back at him, louder than any applause. There's no room for mistakes, no space for vulnerability, no one left who dares to speak freely. The walls meant to protect him have become his invisible cage. Some say the silence is what keeps him powerful. Others whisper it's what's slowly consuming him. A life so controlled that even truth has no oxygen left to survive. Because one day, that silence will break. And when it does, the world won't just hear Zeus's story, it'll hear the sound of perfection collapsing from the inside. When your image is your empire, sleep becomes a luxury you can't afford. For Zeus, perfection never rests. When the city of Monaco sleeps, his penthouse lights still burn like a lighthouse over the Riviera, a silent testament to a man at war with time. Inside, screens flicker with investment charts, yacht designs, and security feeds. Assistants whisper updates through earpieces, stylists prepare wardrobes for dawn, and nutritionists calculate every calorie down to a science. To the world, it looks like discipline, but beneath the surface, it's obsession. Every flaw, every rumor, every wrinkle in his empire is studied, analyzed, and erased before it ever sees daylight. He surrounds himself with technology, biometric scanners, sleep monitors, oxygen chambers, all designed to keep him at peak performance. Yet, despite all the precision, true rest never comes. The nights are long, haunted not by nightmares, but by the thought of imperfection. Zeus knows that in a world built on appearances, one careless moment can rewrite the entire narrative. So he fights the clock, chasing a version of himself that no longer feels human. Time isn't his enemy, it's his reflection, reminding him that no machine, no wealth, no luxury can pause the inevitable. Those who have seen him up close describe a quiet intensity, a man whose eyes burn with ambition yet carry a weight no crown could hold. He doesn't talk about fatigue, but it lingers in the pause between his words, in the way his hand grips the glass of water a second too long. And as the dawn light hits the Monaco Bay, the perfection resumes. The tailored suit, the subtle smile, the illusion reborn for another day. No one would ever guess that the man who owns everything can't find peace even in his sleep. Because when you spend years fighting the darkness inside your own mind, there comes a night when it stops fighting back and simply watches you break. Every empire has a secret, and sometimes that secret wears heels. For years, Zeus's world appeared perfectly solitary, a man surrounded by luxury but untouched by intimacy. Yet whispers began to surface about a woman seen stepping out of his villa one quiet morning. No red carpet, no paparazzi, no grand entrance. She wasn't a model, not an actress, and not the type of woman Monaco's spotlight usually adores. Some called her the hidden queen. She moved with quiet confidence, dressed in understated elegance, the kind of presence that could silence a room without saying a word. Those who saw them together described a rare softness in Zeus, a flicker of humanity beneath his usual armor. With her, he didn't play the role of the billionaire, he simply existed. Sources close to him say she was the only person who ever challenged his obsession with perfection. When Zeus demanded symmetry, she left a rose petal out of place. When he insisted on silence, she hummed softly under her breath. To her, imperfection wasn't failure, it was freedom. And for a brief time, Zeus began to believe that maybe she was right. But love, in a world built on control, is the most unpredictable force of all. Her presence disrupted the order of his empire. Assistants noticed changes, meetings delayed, lights turned off earlier, laughter echoing through marble halls that had long forgotten the sound. Yet, just as suddenly as she appeared, she vanished. No explanation, no trace. Only the silence returned, deeper, heavier, and colder than before. Rumors spread. Had she left? Was she sent away? Or was her absence another layer of the illusion Zeus built to protect his empire? Whatever the truth, something in him changed. His gaze grew distant, his routines even sharper. It was as if he had doubled down on perfection to erase the memory of what made him feel alive. Because when you remove the only person who made your world real, perfection stops being power and becomes punishment. The richest man in Monaco didn't lose his fortune. He lost something far more valuable. Zeus built a world where everything gleamed: the cars, the marble, even the smiles. But as years passed, the shine began to feel heavy, like armor he could never take off. The cost of maintaining perfection wasn't measured in dollars. It was measured in loneliness, paranoia, and the slow erosion of authenticity. Every conversation became a calculation. Every friendship, a potential liability. He no longer knew who admired him and who feared him. Every photo online had to be flawless, every public moment rehearsed. Even his laughter felt edited, a sound that belonged to the brand, not the man. Inside his mansion, surrounded by priceless art and ocean views, Zeus began to feel something money couldn't cure: emptiness. It wasn't depression, it was disconnection. He had everything except reality. His empire had turned into a museum of himself, beautiful but lifeless. People around him noticed the change. He stopped attending charity galas, stopped racing his cars along the Riviera, and began spending nights staring out over the dark Mediterranean. Perfection had protected him from judgment, but also from joy. The world worshipped the image of Zeus, yet no one truly saw him anymore. He once told a confidant, "You don't own perfection, it owns you." And in that single sentence, the truth finally slipped through the cracks of his silence. Because perfection demands constant sacrifice. Every new success asks for something in return: a piece of your time, your trust, your peace. Zeus had traded them all, one by one, until there was nothing left but the illusion. And then, one night, that illusion shattered. Not with scandal, not with failure, but with a single event that reminded Monaco's untouchable billionaire that even perfection can bleed. Every empire has a moment when the mask slips, and for Zeus, it happened on a night Monaco will never forget. It began quietly, as most turning points do. The sky above the Riviera was perfectly still, the harbor lights glimmering like jewels scattered across black velvet. But inside Zeus's marble fortress, the silence that had once protected him began to fracture. Something, or someone, had broken through the walls. Some say it started with a leak, a photo that shouldn't have existed. Others whisper it was a betrayal from inside, a moment of carelessness by someone who got too close. Whatever the truth, that night became the first time Zeus couldn't control the narrative. His perfect image, the one built over years of discipline and secrecy, cracked under the weight of reality. Witnesses remember flashes of chaos, security cars racing through narrow streets, lights flickering across the mansion, and the press gathering outside like moths drawn to the flame. Yet when the gates opened hours later, Zeus didn't emerge to defend himself. He vanished. For weeks, Monaco buzzed with speculation. Some said he fled on his yacht under the cover of darkness. Others believed he stayed, hidden in plain sight, rethinking everything. The man who once orchestrated every second of his public life had disappeared into silence again. But this time, it wasn't control. It was surrender. For the first time, Zeus faced something he couldn't curate, polish, or erase. The empire built on flawless surfaces had met its first true reflection. And when he finally returned, those who saw him said he looked different. Not broken, but lighter, as if perfection had finally loosened its grip. The suits were simpler, the schedule shorter, the smile real, because that night didn't end Zeus's empire, it awakened it. And what came after would prove that sometimes losing control is the only way to reclaim your soul. Sometimes, to rebuild an empire, you must first destroy its reflection. When Zeus returned to Monaco, the city held its breath. No grand entrance, no press conference, no spectacle, just a quiet reappearance, like the tide reclaiming the shore. Gone were the gold-trimmed suits, the choreographed gestures, the entourage that once followed his every step. In their place stood a man who had learned the value of stillness. He began showing up in unexpected places: local art galleries, marine research events, even small charity dinners. To those who remembered the old Zeus, it felt surreal. The man who once defined excess now spoke about balance. Instead of hosting dazzling parties, he funded ocean cleaning projects. Instead of buying new supercars, he restored vintage ones for history's sake. His empire didn't shrink, it evolved. For the first time, Zeus was building something not to impress, but to inspire. He invested in sustainable luxury ventures, founded scholarships for young designers, and supported artists who painted Monaco not in gold, but in truth. The perfection that once trapped him had been replaced by purpose. But make no mistake, Zeus didn't become humble overnight. The fire that built his fortune still burned within him. It was simply redirected. He began to use his influence to question the very idea of perfection that had defined him. Perfection, he once told a journalist, isn't a look, it's peace. And the city noticed. The same people who once whispered about his downfall now admired his transformation. Monaco's billionaire king had rewritten his legend, not by building higher walls, but by finally letting people see inside them. Yet even as he seemed freer than ever, there was something unspoken. A ghost in his story, a silence that hadn't entirely disappeared. Every now and then, as the sun set over the harbor, witnesses said he stood on his balcony, watching the horizon as if searching for someone or something that never returned. Because even after redemption, perfection leaves scars. And deep down, Zeus knows that peace isn't the end of his story. It's just the calm before another storm. They called him the man who mastered perfection. But in the end, Zeus mastered something far greater. Today, Monaco remembers Zeus not just for his wealth or power, but for the transformation that followed. His empire, once fueled by image and control, became a symbol of evolution, proof that even those at the top can change. The same man who once avoided cameras now allows documentaries to capture his philanthropic work. The once untouchable billionaire now shakes hands with fishermen, artists, and students, reminding them that perfection isn't the goal. Authenticity is. His story became a quiet revolution among the elite. Suddenly, the flawless appearances and luxury facades of others began to look hollow compared to Zeus's calm honesty. He turned his mistakes into messages, his silence into strength, and his solitude into purpose. The man who once built walls to hide his truth now uses his influence to help others find theirs. But even with this redemption, a mystery remains. Some say he still keeps a single untouched room in his mansion, perfectly arranged, just as it was during his reign of perfection. A reminder of the world he left behind and of the price he paid to be free. Because deep down, Zeus knows that perfection never truly dies. It just waits for the next soul brave enough to chase it. In the end, Zeus's story isn't about wealth, fame, or the pursuit of perfection. It's about the cost of chasing an illusion. He built a world that looked flawless from the outside, but nearly broke him from within. And yet, through the silence, the loss, and the cracks in his empire, he found something rare: the courage to be imperfect. His journey reminds us that true power isn't about never falling. It's about rising with honesty. The shine of gold fades, but the glow of authenticity lasts forever. In a world obsessed with appearances, Zeus became proof that vulnerability can be the most elegant form of strength. If this story made you think differently about perfection, hit that like button, subscribe, and join us inside the Billionaires world, where every luxury hides a lesson and every empire has a soul. Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Your support means more than you know. And remember, behind every perfect life you see, there's always a story the world doesn't tell. Stay tuned, because next time, we'll reveal what truly happens when the spotlight turns away from Monaco's golden empire.